It is my responsibility to call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask for a nomination for chair. Just a reminder to everybody that we do not need a second for that nomination, and we can have multiple nominations. So at this time, I would like to open up the opportunity to make a nomination for the chair of the West River Modified Union Education District.
I'm happy to nominate Joe Winrick.
I'm happy to nominate Al Clauston.
Okay, we have a nomination for Joe. Okay, and we have two nominations. We have a nomination for Joe Winrick, and we have a nomination for Mike Foley. From Mike Foley for Al Clauston. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we have two nominations. We have to do this by roll call. So how do we do a roll call with two votes? Okay, so this is what I'll do. I am going to go one by one person,
Hey, Bill.
and you're gonna either
Bill.
say, yeah.
Rather
You have
than
a
split
suggestion?
this, rather than fool around with it, I'll just withdraw.
You withdraw, you respectfully
I'll
say thank you,
respectfully
and you will
decline.
withdraw your name from the nomination.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't need to go through the roll call.
Okay, so we have one candidate for the chair of the West River Modified Union Education District. So I will go one by one to each person, and you either say yay, you say nay, or you can abstain. Okay, everybody good? Here we go. As on my board, Joe Winrick, yay, nay, or abstain.
Yay.
Lindsay Bertram,
Yay.
Ken McFadden,
Yay.
Al Clausen,
Yay.
Trish Scott,
Yay.
Mike Foley,
Yay.
Emily Long,
Yay.
Dana West,
Yay. Yay.
Keegan Eicher,
Yay.
Leanne Gilson.
Yay.
Is Howie on? Okay,
No, he is not.
so the yeas have it. Mr. Clausen, you are now the chair of the West River Modified Union Education District, and I pass over the meeting to you. I have the list if you would like to know what it is as you call for it, or if you have the list, you can roll with it.
I do have the list, and first I want to say, Joe, thank you very, very much for everything that you've done for the last 2 years for the West River Board. We've gotten to this place under your leadership, and I really appreciate that. And also, you know, you were at Leland and Gray for a number of years as board chair or vice, and I will need your help, definitely. And I appreciate and thank everyone who has supported me. And we will go forward and do the best possible work for the West River Education District. And again, I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
So,
I made you host, Al. You can now see the little blue hands, and it's your meeting.
oh, okay. All right, perfect. Now I just need to thumb through the pages. Very good.
Al,
All
while
right.
you're thumbing through the pages, I don't know if it's a time to speak, but I'd really, really like to thank Joe too for his time, his dedication, and everything he's given to the board and our kids and our community. And I mean that, Joe. I appreciate that a lot. You've been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Marty.
you, Marty. That means a lot.
I would echo that, Joe.
Thank you.
And am I missing any other hands? If I am, I apologize. Nope, seeing no others. Thank you very much, Joe. Really appreciate it. So, going to the reorg sheet. If I can pull it up, the next item would be the election of vice chairperson. I will entertain a nomination for vice chair. And I see Mike's hand.
I would like to nominate Joe Winrick for vice chair.
All
Thank
right, no need for a second. Any other nominations? Seeing none, let's do the roll call. We'll start with you, Joe.
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
And is there anybody
Leanne,
I'm sorry?
Leanne,
Oh, Leanne, did you make it to the second page?
Probably.
Leanne, sorry.
Aye.
All right, anybody else? No? All right. Joe, thank you very much. I believe that was unanimous.
Welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Al.
Thank you. All right, on to election of clerk. I'll entertain nominations.
I'll nominate Mike Foley.
Thank you, Ken. Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, let's do the roll call. Joe?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
You sure?
Kind of.
Emily?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
And of course, Leanne.
Aye.
Right, perfect. It's unanimous again. Thank you very much. Authorized signatures. I believe that's generally the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk. Without objection, if we keep that the same. Does anybody have any objection, comments? No? Okay. And paper of record. I believe that is the Brattleboro Reformer.
we need a daily to be the paper of record.
Right, because I think we've talked in the past about doing another paper, correct, like the Commons or something like that, but
Yeah,
since
and
it's not a daily.
what we try to do on a regular basis is do the reformer, but if we have anything special and we would like to do something more local, we do the Commons as well.
Okay, as a supplement, great. All right, meetings, times, and dates. Should I just say basically every week? No, okay.
For this summer, anyway.
Yeah.
So your current regular meeting is the third Wednesday and Monday at 7 p.m.
For regular meetings, excellent. Any objection with that? Oh, I see Ken's hand up. Go ahead, Ken.
No objection. Move to make it the third Monday.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appointment of truant officer. I believe that's generally the Wyndham Sheriffs. All right. Without objection, I see Ken's hand again. Go ahead, Ken.
I'm moving to make it the Sheriff's Department.
Excellent. All right. So moved. WCSU Policy Committee member.
So this will be interesting at this time. I think we're going to be looking to have a meeting to reorganize now that this board is reorganized. So we're going to probably in July, if you just guys want to think about July, I think it's going to be 27th, the fourth Wednesday, 28th maybe, July 28th. We'll need to reorganize the WCSU. And during this time period of the WCSU, we're going to be looking at the bylaws, which will probably be a deep dive by the policy committee. I mean, of course, the entire board will be involved, but it's time to update those bylaws now that we have different boards, different voting structure. So just keep that in mind as when you get on this policy committee, that's probably going to be part of that work over the next year.
Yes, go ahead, Emily.
I was just going to ask, we've had a lot of motions that we haven't actually acted on. Are we doing it all at once? Is that what the goal was? I mean, I'll just say Ken was moving to name the paper of record or whatever, and we never voted.
Okay, that's a great point. Can we do all of those at once, Bill, or do we need to do them individually? If so, we'll go back and my apologies, we'll make the vote.
No, I think you could make it a slate. I don't think that's a problem.
You should
Okay.
have a motion. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you should have
That's
a
all right.
motion to do all of those at once. If there's a motion just for a single thing, you're supposed to act on the motion. So, Ken, I think, made most of those, so he could probably do the slate himself. But I
Mhm.
live by Robert's rules and Mason's rules, and just thought I'd bring it up.
No, appreciate it. All right, so Ken, in a moment, if you could do the slate after we do WCSU reps. And so WCSU reps, how many do we have generally? 2, okay. And-
Oh, where are we? Are we on policy committee or on
No,
reps?
we're on policy committee.
Yeah, policy committee 2, reps 5.
Okay. All right, are we appointing or looking to 2 policy committee members today? Okay. And who would, Ken's got his hand raised. And
I would
All right,
like to
Ken.
have Mike, nominate Mike.
okay, and I saw another hand raised. Hang on one second.
It was me.
Got it. And Emily?
My question was going to be, who are the 2? And I think, Ken, you were one of them. So if Ken is one of them, I'm happy to nominate Ken as well.
Okay, so we have Ken and Mike. Do we need to take a vote on that or no?
If you're going to do it this way,
You should do, wait until
All
you
at
get,
once.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, so we've got Ken and Mike. Great, and then now on to WCSU reps, and you said we need 5. Okay. Go ahead, Emily.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to make my hand up. Sorry, but I will. But I'll I will nominate you, Al.
Thank you.
You have plenty of time there. So since my hand was up, sorry, I normally lower my hand very quickly, but I didn't.
And I would put in for Joe.
Oh, thank you. I can't raise my hand. I don't know why. But I would nominate Emily Long.
All right, we're up to 3. Is there anybody else that is interested and would like to participate? Go ahead, Dana.
I nominate Ken.
All right, that's 4.
I think
Would anybody else?
Leanne, were you the other one?
I was, but if someone else would like to, I am more than happy to step aside. Time constraints are.
Well, I have a question.
Trish?
Do I have to be on it because I'm on the policy now for the SU if that passes? 'Cause
No, you don't.
Good, Leanne can do that and I can do policy for the SU. That's fine.
Okay.
Trish,
so
are you interested, or Lindsay? Just asking people who've been on for a while.
I worry about time constraints as well. I don't want to commit and not be able to follow through.
Same here.
Raise your hand if you want to.
Go ahead, Ken. I got you.
Thanks, Al. I'll nominate Dana if he's interested.
Well, Dana's got time constraints. I got a lot of time constraints, so this year. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
And
How about
someone-
Keegan?
Well, this is going to be my question. How often does the WCSU?
It's not often. I think we have maybe, is it 3 or 4 meetings or 5?
5 max.
5 max, yeah.
Twice
It's
a year or
very,
or
5 a year.
twice a month?
very infrequent. Yeah.
I love policy. I love committees. I love boards. You can, if you're looking for an extra seat, I would love to fill it for you.
All right. Excellent.
But I don't think I can nominate myself.
I will nominate
I'll
you.
nominate Keegan.
Thank you. All right. So we have myself. We have,
You got 6 right now.
We do?
who do we have? I thought,
Al, Joe, Emily, Ken, Leanne, and Keegan.
No, you can take
Oh, I
me
thought-
off the list.
Leanne declined.
Oh, okay.
So we're
You
at
got
5?
it, Leanne.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve basically D through I, authorized signatures, paper of record, meetings, times and dates, appointment of truant officer, WCSU policy committee member, and WCSU representatives.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call. Start with you, Joe.
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
I and Dana has his hand up.
Let me finish the roll call 1 second. Trish? When I get to you, Dana.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
All right. Whoa.
Had feedback. Sorry, folks.
All right. Well, we've passed it. All right, Dana, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
That's better.
Yeah.
Yep, gotcha. All right. Let's see. Last thing on here, Bill, is update current/new board members, and I think we're all set on
We're set.
that, right? Okay, good. All right, moving back to the agenda. Board norms. Our board norms are to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. Those are our norms. And members of the public, there are many. How are we doing this, Bill, in terms of the members of the public?
They are members of the public, so if they want to make a statement, they should probably put up their Zoom hand so that it can be seen. And Trish, if she can see the non-Zoom hands, she'll be looking at everybody. So she'll let you know if people are
Oh,
waiting.
okay. Good. I do see Dana.
Right now you got Dana and Danielle West.
Oh, Danielle. Okay, go ahead, Danielle.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I just wanted to take a moment as a voter who voted no on the budget to explain why I voted this way. I know others have similar thoughts about it, and I think it's important that the board hears it because I know this will be for discussion later today. So my choice to vote no had nothing to do with financial. It was more my choice to voice my opinion of the board. I feel at times that we're really not heard, and that this was my only option, is to vote no. Sorry, I have some notes here. The few times I've brought things forward to the board, I felt that you listened because you have to, but then I never saw anything taken into consideration or thought about. I've been very vocal about keeping JVS open. For those that don't know, I am a Jamaica resident. But at time, or with some of the new ideas that came forward, I thought they were really good. Even those that maybe talked about leaving or closing Jamaica, because the options were good for all the students. I still feel that there isn't equality in the education, in the opportunities, and I'm fearful that the taxes are going to keep going up and up until the point we can't afford it anymore. So I'm asking the board, as you move forward, really take into consideration what the taxpayers, what the students, what the parents are all saying. I see, a few kids that want school choice or their families choose school choice. But then I know there's 30 of us that have chosen to keep our kids at Jamaica, that the Townsend parents are talking about the overcrowding. And it doesn't seem like, that's the majority, but we're doing school choice and we're maybe spending money on an extra teacher in Townsend, so we can have this when there's other options. So as you move forward too, I know Zoom meetings are kind of hard, and it's, in person meetings are better. So maybe in light of what's going on with everything, slow down a little bit. Let's really look at all the options and see what we can do to get everybody on an equal playing field. Honestly, if you put the same budget forward in a month or two, whatever the time frame is, and I feel like the board is listening to us and really has the best interest of everybody, I would vote for it. So that's what I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Really appreciate it. Great commentary. And yes, I hope that you do feel when we bring forward the budget again, that is what we're trying to do. We're doing the best that we possibly can for the kids and the community members and the taxpayers. So that is definitely our goal. Appreciate it.
I know you guys have talked about in a past meeting, sending a survey out to just kind of feel the climate of everything. And I really hope we get the chance to do that and really hear, what people besides, those that have kids in school, hear everybody's thoughts and feelings. I know you guys got tough decisions. COVID is definitely not helping anything. But, we got a chance to really do some great things if everybody gets on the same page, puts personal agendas aside. And I don't mean just the board, everybody in the community needs to really work together on this.
I could not have said that better, Danielle. Really appreciate it. That excellent sentiment. Thank you. Dana, you've had your hand up for a while. Sorry. Oh, now I can't hear you. Still can't. No.
Am I getting through now?
Multiple
Am I getting
times.
through now?
Just say it once, not 3 times.
Oh, I'm not going to talk the rest of the evening.
Don't commit to that. Just figure out your audio.
Yeah, working on it.
All right, I see another hand. It's a phone number though. It's 802-380-9427. You have the floor.
That's mine.
Disregard then. Okay.
Emily.
Now, yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Emily.
just gonna tell Dana this loop is gonna continue to happen as long as he's on both. So you either gotta go phone or you gotta go without by the video. If the loop will continue to happen, we'll never be able to hear you because it happens all the time.
Okay.
I'm on Zoom meeting all day.
Yeah, I'm sure, Emily, you've seen that quite often. All right, great. Well, while he figures out his technical difficulties, is there anybody else in the public that would like to speak about something that is not on the agenda that they would like to add? Nope. Okay. All right. So correspondence. Bill, I know we did get or go a couple pieces of correspondence, and one of them I know that we're going to address later on anyway, and that would be the letter from Rick regarding the teacher at Townsend that we had discussed and essentially added after we'd already finalized the budget before, but now that we've reopened the budget, as Rick describes and says, we will add that. That will be one of the ads that we have on this upcoming budget presentation. Is that fair? Okay. And then the other piece of correspondence was from Tong Chen in regards to the, I don't know how much we want to get into the details on this.
So you have received a request to waive tuition for 2 students to attend Townsend Elementary School from students that are not residents of the West River District. And that is the correspondence that the board received.
Okay. All right. And all right. So moving on to new business.
Well, so you.
Sorry, go ahead.
You have to decide what you're going to do with that request, because according to your policy, you guys had a no tuition last year for 1 year. It was a very specific motion, as encouraged by your attorney to be very discreet. And then you guys set a tuition rate of, I believe it was $14,000 for elementary school. So in order to say yes to this request, you would have to go back and change your policy, go back and change your setting of a tuition. And so that's a pretty large discussion for you to have. So the board kind of needs to weigh in on this.
I ask a few clarifying questions around this.
Okay, Keegan, and then Mike, and then Dana, if you've got your issues figured out. Good. Good, Keegan.
This is just like a reflection on our current financial state and the need to have funding to support the education of the kids. And am I correct to assume that if these 2 students are enrolled in Townsend Elementary, the family is not responsible for providing that funding to support that education need, right? So
the request is that there would be no tuition paid for 2 students to be accepted at Townsend Elementary School.
is this a common request that often comes up from students from out of district that want to come, or is this a continuation of it was allowed last year, we would like to continue again this year? Is it that piece?
That was predicted by the board last year when they made the motion to allow for 1 year of no tuition. That was coinciding with the move into the first year of having 6th grade at Leland and Gray. But the board was very clear at the time that they made their motion that it would be a 1 year and 1 year only, and have subsequently set a tuition for next year. So the request makes sense because it is a following of last year. But it would take some maneuvering and motions and change from the board for that to be accepted. Plus, you cannot do it for one student and not do it for all students that ask. You cannot discriminate. So you're either all the way open or you're all the way closed.
Okay, Mike, I believe you were next.
Sure. I guess I have 3 quick points to make. One is I believe that, it doesn't really matter who's making the request, but this particular person making the request has served our students for, 17 years as a teacher at LNG. So I do think that this person, gives a lot back to our community. The second point, I guess, would be equalized pupils. More equalized pupils is always a good thing. And the third point, I guess, I'm wondering about is our costs are probably pretty fixed. So it might not really affect, like, I wouldn't want to hire more staff to accommodate these needs or requests, but if our costs are fixed and it helps raise our equalized pupils, that seems like a good thing. Those are my couple points.
So just to clarify, this would not increase your equalized pupils. This is accepting tuition dollars. And by not accepting tuition dollars, you're not increasing your equalized pupils and you're not collecting tuition. And then 2, again, you can't discreetly just say yes to one student and then say no to any future.
Right, it would open it up for everybody.
Okay, we've got Dana, Emily, Ken, and then Leanne.
I was just gonna say, what, Mike? It was all or nothing, right? Everybody or nobody, right?
Yes, Dana.
Yes. Okay, Emily.
Okay, so I'll just quickly weigh in on my perspective on this. As much as I would love for especially staff members, this is not something that is new as a request. And I will just say that we as a board need to be responsible to our taxpayers, and we're in a challenging situation as it is right now. This could have a humongous impact on our taxpayers because we will see a significant loss of revenue. Now, that doesn't mean we'll get students paying the tuition if we say no, but I do believe that if there's no way we're discriminating. So if we say we are going to do it for one student or 2 students or one family or multiple families, we have to do it for anyone. And that really will impact the tax rate. And Bill mentioned it very quickly, but I want to make sure everybody understands there's no gain to this financially. It's a loss. It's definitely a loss for us. And so we need to make sure that we're being very thoughtful when we make this significant decision, because it is huge to change this policy. And I had concerns about it when we did it in the past. The transition year made sense, and it was a very specific 1 year, but I would not be able to support that in this really challenging time, no matter who it is that is making the request right now, because it's got nothing to do with the people or the families or the children. We would love to open our doors for everyone, but we have a responsibility to our taxpayers, and this is a significant change. So thanks.
Thanks, Emily. Ken?
I'll be the bad guy and move. We stick with our policy and refuse this and any other further requests to waive tuition in the district.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
All right, discussion. We're on to,
Do we need to say that out loud for folks who we are making motions? And I'm sorry, Al, I didn't know whether we needed to state our names.
it's a good, like you've said in the past, it's good practice. You're right. So Ken made the motion and Emily seconded. And Leanne, I believe you're next in discussion. And then we can come back to you, Ken, since you made the motion.
Emily hit most of what I was going to say. I just wanted to put out a reminder that if I was correct with my memory, we do have some tuition students coming in from Wardsboro or Dover even, and we'd be losing that tuition money as well if we had allowed this to go through.
Thanks, Leanne. Ken, did you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, right along the lines with Leanne, if we waive tuition for one student at Townsend, we're one district K through 12. That includes all your revenue at the middle and high school too. And we just can't do it. We're one district K through 12. Remember that. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Ken. And poor Joe, he's having trouble with the hand raising. So Joe, and then
I think if I took host back, Al, I could do it. But when I gave that away, I seem to have lost my ability to raise my hand. I just had one question. I know that, I agree with everything that everyone has said about the one-year policy. My only question is, and this is just exploring a possible loophole, would we be allowed to make it a benefit to staff to allow them to send their children? And I see Emily shaking her head no. So we couldn't write that into the contract where staff could send their kids and, that counted as a benefit. I know other schools do it, not public though, mostly university and private, but it was just, I was wondering if that was even possible.
It is a good idea if it's possible.
Bill, can you comment on that? Is that?
It is possible. It is not recommended by your council. And it would be a much longer conversation than you would be wanting to have tonight. But if the board would like to explore that possibility, I'm happy to get the very detailed legal advice and bring it to you. But in our previous conversations about this particular topic, it is not recommended by your council, for the sense that it doesn't make any, as somebody pointed out earlier, it doesn't make any difference who the child is or how they are connected to the district. You're still not receiving tuition, and there's some other legal ramifications that I would need to explain to you in executive session.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks. We've got Keegan, Emily, and then Dina.
Thanks. My question is just fairly quick. I grew up and I went to school in New York, and I fell under the guise of the early 90s, where if your parents were teachers, the kids could attend the school tuition free, but then New York got rid of that law or that allowance. So my question then moves to a financial aid opportunity. Like, does anyone know if there are funding sources, like if a teacher or if someone would like to send their kids into a district without having the tuition waived, but they don't necessarily have the funding to back up the cost of admission? Are there funds or monies available that they could apply for, that they could then, I see Emily nodding her head. Would that be something that we could share, or is that like not so much?
Happy to speak to it if you want to call on me.
Go ahead, Emily.
So it depends, there are ways. I mean, there's always scholarships out there for students, but it really depends on where the student comes from. If a student is coming from a tuition, a town where they have choice, they will have money that comes with them. If they live in a town that doesn't have choice, then unless their town allows them to leave with money with them, they won't have that opportunity. And so I'll leave it at that for you, Keegan, in response, but if I can just respond.
Of course.
It's not, we have addressed this at Leland and Gray before, West River, multiple times, and many years before I was ever even on this board. I remember requests going when I was in school here at Leland and Gray, where teachers wanted to bring their kids in. So this is not anything new, and I applaud the request. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Where I come down on all of this is equity. You know, for me, we need to make sure, as much as we value our staff, and there is no one who values our staff more than me, and if there's a way for us to make it useful and helpful for our staff, I would do it. But for me, before even honoring our staff that I value so much, I value the equity and the access for all of our students. And so again, for me, it doesn't really matter who the child is or who the family is or whatever. I just want every child to have the same access. And right now we do. And so if we start opening it up for those little pieces, I think we're eliminating other students being able to have the same access. And that is unfair to me. And I would not support anything like that unless there were some way to make sure that every student had the same access. So I'm all about equity. That's where I come from.
Thanks, Emily. Dana, and then Mike.
Hey, Al, can you lower my hand under that phone number, and I'll just raise my hand under my name?
I don't know if I can lower your, oh, yes, I can. There we go. Boom, gone.
Thank you. I'll do the other part. That's all I got.
Okay, Mike.
Emily made a great point. We might not have enough information because we don't know where the students are coming from, or do we? Maybe Bill knows or somebody else knows, but we don't know if they're coming from a town that would tuition them.
If they were coming from a town that paid tuition, this request would not be coming to the board.
Right. Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
There's a motion on the floor.
Good point. Thank you.
I
That was
made the
so long ago, Joe.
Yeah.
Ken McFadden made the motion. Emily Long seconded it.
That is right. Okay. All right.
Al, can you restate the motion?
Ken, can you restate the motion?
I moved to deny the request for a tuition waiver for a student this year and any other coming year. I also said in the future.
You also mentioned the policy, Ken, that
Yes,
we sticking with our policy. I think that's really an important piece to this, and that's what I seconded. Something that mentioned the policy that we have in place.
Okay.
Do you want it clear?
Yeah, go ahead and restate it again, Ken.
Okay. I move to deny the request for a waiver of tuition and follow our policy on tuition waivers.
Okay. All right. Let's do a roll call. Start with you, Joe.
Since you took the future out of that final motion, I'll say aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. All right, thank you. Moving on to new business. Budget rewarning. Where would we like to go, Bill?
If you want to call up that document, either Joe or Al, what I did since the budget vote is I met with our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Lori Garland, and looked at some possibilities to have the least amount of impact on students and to have a financial different outcome for the budget. You'll get to see in a second when it gets called up, but I'll just kind of talk you through it. But as you heard earlier on a letter we received from the public, since we are only voting on the elementary side, and we did have a motion from the board to add the teacher, we included that addition in building this new budget. Every year when we have this, we usually don't get this opportunity because we're usually setting a budget in February, but we have teachers that retire, teachers that move on, we hire new teachers, we're in negotiations with teachers, we're in negotiations with support staff, and we kind of have to take a stab sometimes at how much money we should budget for that. So we went at a little deeper dive to try to be as pinpoint as possible. So there's a recalibration of that and some savings there.
You have to give me permission.
We did an
now.
addition. Oh, Al, can you give Joe some permissions to call it up? Because I'm going to keep talking. I'm rolling.
Working on it.
Okay. We did an additional reduction of 25% of supplies across the board, knowing full well that our principals are going to make sure that they have what is necessary for our students, but that really just kind of lowers the target. We have to be even more targeted, I guess, in our spending, make sure that everything is allocated in a very, very tight manner. So we were able to reduce that by $33,620. We reduced our annual contribution to Journey East by $18,000. And that's simply because this year we didn't spend as much money on the Journey East program as that we would have expected. So it has nothing to do with the devaluation of Journey East. It has everything to do with the COVID reality of how Journey East played out this year. So that is that reduction. And then the other one for the board's consideration is this year we did a pilot of doing universal meals to everybody. And that is a $55,000 cost. And I want to assure the board that that means that all students that are eligible for free and reduced lunch will still be eligible for free and reduced lunch. But what this means is people that aren't eligible for free and reduced lunch would be charged for lunch. And that is a $55,000 savings. So these are the 5 items that we're putting forth to the board to minimize impact on students, to be prepared for students to return in the fall in the COVID environment of having been out of school for 6 months, keeping the teacher that the board had already approved, and looking at these 4 reductions. That gets you down to expenses of $11,961,000, which is, the original was $12,047,000. So we're talking $86,000 if I do my math correctly. And then Lori has laid out the unified tax rate is $1.95. When we were last talking, Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was $198.9 or $199. So that is the what we are presenting to the board tonight to consider to rewarn the budget to go before the voters. If the board does approve a budget tonight, we can warn the budget 10 days after a voting down of the budget. So my suggestion would be that we would have the vote on June 30th and that we would have a budget information night on June 29th. And I've invited, this will be after you guys decide, but I invited Anita Raphael, who did our press when we became one district. I invited her to listen in tonight in case the board would like to engage in some outreach to their constituents about this revote. I wanted Anita to be able to hear this entire conversation. So that's a long way of me saying there are 5 areas to the budget that I am making a recommendation that you consider as a board, and that's how it'll play out through the CLA and through the tax rate. It is important to note that little star at the bottom there, that we can't predict how the machination will happen at the state level, but Townsend was super close on the last unified tax rate of that 5% protection. Don't know how it will actually all play out because the state has to do their magic of what they call West River A and West River B. And West River A, imagine that is your 7 through 12, and that is locked. People have voted on that. We're not changing that number. We're only going to be voting on West River B. And Lori, again, if I did not provide the level of detail that will be necessary for the board to have a fruitful, thoughtful conversation, please hop in.
Got it all.
Thanks.
Wow, that was impressive. First thing I would say is, does this fall in line with our values, or is there anything that is not in line with that?
I would say the challenge would be on the reduction in supplies and the understanding that that will be a target number, but it will not be a hard and fast number because we will need to have the flexibility to go over that line item. I will keep you well informed if we get there. But we don't know what supplies our students are going to need in this new environment. Even in a regular environment, we need to provide for our students. It's just more of a real conscious effort to get to the lowest possible place we can be and be the most efficient that we can possibly be. That would be the one thing that I would point out about the West River values.
Okay. Would the board like to discuss, or does somebody have a motion in mind that we can discuss that?
You've got Trish, Dana, and Emily's hands, and Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. If you want to run the order again, Jim, apologize.
I know it's Trish, Dana, Emily, Ken. Throw me in there.
Trish, Dana, Emily, Ken, Joe. All right. I've got the order. Go ahead, Trish.
Thanks. Can Bill or Lori, can you just expand a little bit more on that $55,000 universal meals reduction? What does that actually mean? Because we just put it into play this past / current school year. And now are we talking about taking it away completely? I know you said those who are eligible for free and reduced would still get it. What does it really kind of mean?
I'll let Lori dive in for the details.
Right. So it means that the students that are not considered free and reduced would be paying. So the parents or guardians would be paying just as they have in the past for any type of lunch or breakfast program. And you're right, we just put it into play this first year. We'll get to the financials a little bit later. The food program did lose a significant amount of money, but it's really hard to tell at this point how much of that was COVID related and how much of it was the fact that applications were not turned in. When we started the Universal Meals program at the beginning of the year, when people heard free, they did not turn in their applications, and that actually hurt us pretty deeply in the beginning of the year with reimbursements because we were in a base year, what they call a Provision 2 base year, and you still need the applications to establish your base. So it would revert back to parents paying.
Okay, Dana.
I was just, throwing it out to the board. I mean, this has been a nice perk for all the students. It's an equality thing that we provide to every student from pre-K to to 12. I'd hate to see this go. This is the one good thing that has benefited. I mean, some students who don't fall into the feed program might actually hit it this coming fall because of the COVID. I mean, I'd like to see this back in. At least it gives our kids an opportunity. I mean, those who didn't file the applications, it gives them a second chance. Is there any way we could keep this? I'll throw it out to y'all. See what you think.
Thanks, Dan. Emily?
Thank you. My comments and questions are around the universal meals as well. Remind me, Lori, universal meals were for everyone, including staff. Is that right?
No,
Okay.
staff still had to pay for the food. Mhm.
So I will echo what you heard prior to me, saying that I have some significant concerns about access to food, our students having access to food, and the COVID situation has certainly made it more challenging. But my perspective is that, you nailed it when you said that about people not filling out the forms. That is a significant problem in every school district, everywhere, every year, trying to get people to fill out the forms that they need to fill out so that we get the reimbursement for those who are eligible. And we need to continue to do that. My guess is that there will be more students, as Dana, I think, mentioned, and Trish as well, that there will be more students who are eligible right now because we have been in a really challenging situation, which I don't think is going to go away very quickly. I would love to see us be able to continue this universal meal for our students. I think it's really important that we provide meals for our kids if we can. It went up, I believe, 5,000 this year. Am I right? I think it was 50 last year and it's 55 this year.
Correct.
Which is, not all that significant, but I mean, it's enough. And given the fact that our budget went down, and I know we had one person who mentioned that they weren't voting no due to the financial impacts of the budget, but I don't know if that's how everyone else felt. This is something that we could offer again in the future if we reduced it now. Am I right? And that's one question. And the second question is, what is the impact? Is there an impact on the meals program if we don't do the universal meals? I couldn't think of one in my head because I think people, if they don't get it for free, the vast majority would buy it. And the program would continue, but I just wondered whether we thought there was going to be an impact on the program itself.
I think
go ahead, Lauren.
Just a quick comment on the major impact I would say would be administrative. There's, more administrative work to collecting money and that type of thing. Right now, the kids go down and get their food and we keep track of it by student, but it's not, nobody's handling money. So go ahead, Bill. You had a
and I
comment.
would just add to your question, Emily. Yeah, of course. If you don't do it next year, you can do it the following year.
Right.
There's no impediment to that.
I probably would recommend if we do take this out and decide to keep going forward with what we call Provision 2, that we would redo the base year next year and we would collect applications again because we had such a poor turnout after we actually did, I think it ended up to be 3 application drives throughout the year because they were not returned.
Al, can I follow up on that real quickly?
Yes, please.
Lori, I have a real concern about us not reaching those students who are eligible, because it could be a significant impact on our budget if we're not getting the reimbursement. Am I right?
Yes.
So you said we do drives. We did 3 drives. have we considered other ways to make sure that we get people filling out the forms? I know this is not a new problem. It's always been there, but it feels a lot more, it feels much larger and more looming if we're considering reducing the universal meals. And I just want to make sure that we're getting that reimbursement.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with Food Connects to do the application drives. You know, Chris Parker held a raffle. I mean, we spent a lot of time on this, but it was a significant drop in revenue at the beginning of the year because we didn't have the applications back.
Okay.
Ken, Joe, then Lindsay, and many more.
Okay, so we're talking really at this 55 is actually the increase is only $5,000. Is that what I'm hearing? Because we budgeted for 50,000 last year. Is that correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's correct.
So we're talking about a difference between 50,000. I don't know, was new equipment purchased part of this downfall or no?
No, not the new equipment purchases. You know, there was a significant amount of, you know, salaries and benefits because of providing meals during COVID that added to the deficit situation. We actually ended up getting more reimbursement because of COVID in the end, and so the deficit actually would have been, well, probably would have been around the same, maybe a little bit less had we not got the COVID meals reimbursement. It was, that actually saved the revenues in the end.
Okay, so I'm going to point out pretty much the same thing I pointed out last year, which is that would be about $100, $110 per student to have them fed twice a day to make sure every kid is fed. So I would say let's keep this program on again one more year, try to get those applications in, and maybe COVID had a bigger impact than we thought. We'll find out.
Thanks, Ken. Joe?
Thanks, Al. I wanted to speak in favor of keeping the universal meals as well. You know, what we've heard in the last few meetings is that, you know, when the kids do return to school, they're going to need more support and more, you know, that this semester off in summer and everything that's happening is essentially trauma for our students. So, you know, it seems like we ought to do everything we can think of to support them, you know, which is, you know, looking at this whole list, we really need to keep that extra teacher. We need to, you know, feed them if at all possible. And I think we ought to really seriously consider putting the supply line back in the budget as well. You know, that $33,000 is going to come out of the pockets of our staff and go to the kids, because the kids will get what they need, but we'll essentially take it from our teachers. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. I've got Lindsay, Keegan, and then Trish.
So my question is also about the universal meals. I'm wondering if we have the information of how many meals were served this school year compared to last school year, if having the universal meals increased the number of students partaking and by how much, and also if we had an idea of the people this last school year, of the students who were regularly partaking in school meals, do we have any sort of breakdown of how many of them would have qualified for free and reduced versus how many would have only qualified as full pay students? And do we have any of that information?
I don't have all that information tonight. No, I can tell you that the numbers in the elementary were similar to they were before implementing Provision 2. Increased a little bit slightly, but at the high school level was where we saw the biggest increase in students partaking in meals. Chris probably would tell you it doubled. So participation doubled. I'm not sure how it ended up at the, well, at the end of the year, it was completely different anyway. So at the beginning of the year, that's what he had said.
All right, Keegan, Trish, and then Mike.
I have just a couple of questions related to, or question and comments related to the Universal Meals Program, as well as the supply piece. Speaking to the meals first, while I can appreciate, and I echo the sentiment that our kids are going to be returning back to their classrooms, having been out of school for, well, my students are going to be out of school for at least, I believe, 24 weeks was the total count if we go back and continue immediately. But what, other than the drives, I'm curious, what other supports can we put in place to help families complete those access forms to receive the free and reduced waivers or reimbursements? Is there a way where we can ask families to re-engage and complete those necessary forms to get those reimbursements for this, for the kids that would qualify but haven't turned in the paperwork? Is there a way that we can urge that to happen other than hosting drives? Like, has a survey been asked of parents, like, hey, we haven't heard from you, we have this great opportunity, we would love to support the feeding of your children while they're in school, how can we help you complete this paperwork?
I would say that's absolutely already happening at each building, each principal, guidance counselor, social worker, administrative assistant. It's a full court press to try to make it happen.
Okay. So there's really like nothing new that we could come up with that's going to be like, here's the magical thing that's going to get this thing to completely be implemented. Would that be a fair statement? Like, everything that can be done is being done. There's nothing else we can do.
I would say it's a fair statement that at each building, it is doing everything they can to encourage people to fill it out. Yes.
Okay. And then the second piece is around the supply budget. I know at my school and at other schools where many of my peers and colleagues that are teachers are, we rely heavily upon grant writing for our classrooms as well as donor choose. Do you have any information around what has been done to support the teachers in the event that they wanted to purchase supplies or extra things for their classroom, where they have access to someone within the district that has experience with grant writing or this type of request for donation that's beyond this?
We do not employ a grant writer, but I do know of some, different teachers will approach their classrooms in different ways. But no, I don't have any universal answer for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Keegan. Trish, Mike, and then I think back to Emily.
I had two things I wanted to say as well, one about the food program and then about the supply line. I don't know how to say this in a not incriminating myself fashion, but the form that comes home for the food program asks a lot of personal questions, and that might be difficult for a lot of families. So, and I don't know if there's any way around that, but if there's a way around that somebody could call and say, I don't want this information sitting on a piece of paper on someone's desk. Can I tell it to you over the phone, or can I call the state with my information? No. Bill is shaking his head no. That's unfortunate. Can I call on Lori? Did you want to comment to that?
Yes,
Sorry.
Lori, go ahead.
I just wanted to respond to you, Trish, that it is a very, very delicately handled process. And there is not the paper sitting on the desk. We handle it with care, and that takes time. It takes time, and it takes a lot of energy into that. But I just wanted to assure everyone, you're absolutely right. The form is daunting, and it's why people don't fill it out. I mean, when they see the form, they just put it aside because it's daunting. And it does ask a lot of personal questions. But I just wanted to assure everybody that in our district, we handle it with the utmost care.
That's good to hear. Regarding the supply line, this might be a really naive question, but and I know that there's obviously no predicting, and probably it's far too early to say from the current school year, but if, and also not knowing what next year's school year is going to look like yet, is that reduction in a supply line perhaps more possible because there is the potential that there might be less in-person teaching going on? Is there any way to justify that that reduction in the supply line because maybe we're going to be 3 half days a week in person? I don't know. I'm not saying that it takes I don't mean to insinuate that it takes less supplies to teach students if they're not in person, but I'm wondering, does it take physical less supplies? I don't know. And maybe that ends up being, if it's not physical supplies, then we're paying for online memberships for different things, and that might be the answer. But I was just curious. I didn't know if there was something, if there's any way to tell from the current school year with COVID or the future school year with COVID, maybe we are able to justify that reduction in that line a little bit. I don't know.
Well, remember, we've already reduced it by 25%. So this is an additional 25%. So any efficiencies that would have occurred.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, saying if people are questioning the reduction in that line, is it possible to say, well, we can justify that reduction because we know we actually bought less of X, Y, and Z in this current school year and are anticipating buying less of X, Y, and Z in the upcoming school year because of COVID. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, I can buy that.
Looking for justifications.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that piece, though, when it comes to those needed supplies? And this is from an arts perspective. The conversation happening in other schools has been around if we are no longer going to have the shared resources in the classroom where kids can access paint, crayons, markers, canvases, like all of the art projects that students create, your ceramics and so forth. If the kids aren't going to be in school to use school-based items, is it going to be an expectation that the art teachers or the music teachers are going to be providing the supplies like that the kids are going to need at their homes if we are going to be in a remote setting?
So I don't think we know that answer yet. And I think it's going to change over time. And I think that, both Trish and you bring up a good point. It could be a reality where we end up spending less than we expect because of what the situation is on the ground. It could easily be that we're going to spend way more than we expect because of the situation on the ground. I don't think that we can predict that. And I just don't think I don't think the last 10 weeks have given us enough data points for us to predict what the next year is going to look like.
Thanks, Bill. All right, I've got Mike, Leanne, and Emily. Did you have your hand back up? No? Yes, Trish. I can see the hands, but I'm just not responding in timely fashion.
My answer is no.
Okay, thank you, Emily. All right, so Mike and Leanne.
All right, so, I mean, we had voted on the TES position, so I think we're all pretty much still in agreement that we need that because it was based on that school coming to us and saying they needed that. I still support the meals program. We all still support Journey East. That's an easy one because that was just money we didn't spend. I also agree with Joe about questioning the reduction of additional 25%. So I'm wondering if we can, if we accept the addition of 60,000 at TES for the teacher, and we accept the 40,000 recalibration of salaries, and we accept the 18,000 Journey East, that leaves us with about a $2,000 increase, which I would actually like to make that motion. I'm just concerned that it might sound a little tone deaf considering our budget didn't pass. What do other people think of that?
Mike, I'll go to you in a second, Leanne. I apologize. I was actually tracking down that path myself in my mind, netting out about the same with the 60,000 with the teacher, and then everybody's kind of been speaking to the same thing. The universal meals we generally don't seem to want to touch. Want to continue to going with that. Food security is extremely important, especially with COVID-19 and a lot of families not knowing where the meals are coming from. And I think it is incredibly admirable what we have done, our administration has done, our food program has done to support those families in this great time of need. So I would agree with that. And then, so I think I agree with you. So with that, I'll move on to Leanne.
I think everyone else has mostly hit the points I was going to hit. It's actually lowering my hand just as you saw me out. But I just wanted to put in I'm in favor of the universal meals program, and I think we should not remove that from the budget further.
Okay, great. So Mike, absolutely you can make the motion, but just to get the general feel of everybody, sounds like everybody's in favor of the teacher. Obviously we voted on that before. Universal meals, yes, and keeping the supply line at the 25% reduction and not moving it to 50% off, or 50%. If that's a fair assessment, obviously, Mike, go ahead and make your motion if you want.
Okay, sure. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the addition of the $60,000 for a teacher at TES. We accept the reduction of $40,000 recalibration of contingency salaries, and we accept the reduction of $18,000 for Journey East.
All right. Do we have any additional discussion? Or have we hammered this one? I see, Joe, I saw your hand. You figured it out.
When I gave you host of the meeting back, it came to me. All of a sudden there was a new button. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And Dana?
Yeah, I was just wondering, this is going to make our budget 2,000 above what we originally had?
That would be the net of it if I'm doing the math.
What if we're wrong and it wasn't the question of whether the confusion in the ballot? Could we do something to make it $1 less than what we first proposed?
Well, if you'd like to, let me go to, okay, point taken.
Window. I couldn't, yeah, you know what I'm going with this, right?
Yep. Yep, point taken.
You know, what if it wasn't the confusion in the two ballots, but, getting the two yeses and the two nos? What if it was actually in the dollar amount?
Good point.
2,000 shouldn't make a difference, but we went up. We didn't go back. Usually you cut budgets, even if it's $1. Okay?
Yep.
Just throwing it up.
No, appreciate it. Go Lori for commentary, and then Emily, Keegan, and Mike.
Dana, I see where you're going with this. On the ballot, though, it's the per pupil cost is what they're actually voting on, and $1 change in the expense is not going to change that by very much. So just a point of clarification is It's the per pupil cost, which was,
Okay.
just so I can give you those numbers, if you were to go with the motion, then the per pupil cost that was on the ballot for the West River A was $20,466, which was 10.39% higher than the previous year. With this change, the ballot would read $20,481 and 10.47% higher. So very, very little change in the, and so a dollar would not really make a difference in your total budget.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Okay.
Emily, Keegan, and then Mike.
So, first of all, I want to have you answer a quick question. When we bring a budget back after a failure, the budget needs to change. It can't be the exact same. Is that correct? That's the first question I have.
That is my understanding.
Okay, that's my understanding too.
Unless you receive a petition asking for the exact same budget to be re-given.
Right, which we didn't, or haven't yet. So but that doesn't mean we can't bring a budget back that's higher. We've had this conversation before when a similar situation has happened, and we agreed that we didn't think that followed what we felt the sentiment of the public was when a budget failed. Now, I am not going to argue about any of the suggestions that were out there. I agree with everything everyone said about, I would hate to see us take that extra 25% out, and I'm a huge supporter of the universal meals. But I also feel a real sense of responsibility to our taxpayers, and as Dana just pointed out, there's no way we know how people are feeling out there because we vote Australian ballot and we can only speculate. So my question is there, I hate us line iteming budgets. I don't think that we should be doing that, but what kind of a reduction would we have to suggest to you to bring us just slightly lower per pupil spending? I don't know, I wrote down the numbers, but it wasn't an awful lot. But if we just gave you a target and said, could you figure out a place to lower that and bring it back just slightly lower, whatever that number is. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just really concerned about going back with a budget that's higher after a budget failed. That is just it's hard. It's hard to do that. So I'm just throwing it out there for the board to think about and for the administration to think about.
Al?
Go ahead, Bill.
Could I just?
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Well, I mean, the first thing that pops in my mind is instead of doing an additional reduction of 25%, do an additional reduction of 20%. That'll save you $6,000. And then you'll be below what it was before without, so instead of reducing it 25% total, you've reduced it 30% total. That gets you below the number.
Great. It's a excellent solution. Keegan and then Mike.
Bill just said what I was going to say, so.
Okay. All right, now Keegan, then Leanne.
My question is for Lori, and it's education finance, which is not my expertise zone. But I did see on the ballot, and I have heard in conversation references to this reserve fund where we can take surplus monies and put it into a reserve fund. Would this be an opportunity where we could talk about maybe shuffling some of that reserve back in to cover the cost of some of this stuff? Or is it reserved for something really big that we don't know about, as opposed to sliding $2,000 from the reserve fund into this to kind of meet an expectation or a need? I don't even know if that's a question I can ask. But.
It's a great question. Typically, you don't identify reserves until they're audited. So fiscal year 20, you know, as you can see from the financials, you will have a surplus that can be moved into reserve or used for exactly this purpose. However, it's not really identified reserves yet because it has not been audited for fiscal year 20.
That's likely not going to happen before we need to warn another budget vote, right?
No. No.
Thank you.
All right, Leanne. And Dana, I think that's your hand after. Okay.
This is going back, I guess, a little bit towards Emily and Dana's point of reducing the overall budget. I just wanted to say I've heard enough talk from people in the Newfane and Brookline area where I don't think we're going to get support if we're coming back with a budget that was higher than the one that was voted down. The bottom line was the dollar figure for them. And I like Bill's idea of sort of split in the middle there on the supplies, cutting it back a little, but not the full 25% that was proposed here.
Okay. Go ahead, Dana, and then Lindsay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we could cut back on the supply thing too. I hate to see 50%, but I don't know. You know, school clubs can help pay for this. You know, we have one in Jamaica. Townsend, I think, has one. I don't know if Newbrook has one, but they could probably help fundraise and supplement teacher supplies if we had to. It's an option. Can you unhand me there, Al?
Yes, I will lower your hand. You got it.
Thank you.
All right, Lindsay.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what's actually already been said also, that I do think that we need to come back with a lower budget number. Anything lower. I think it's a little offensive for those who did vote no because of the high number to not take that to heart. And the fact that we chose to deficit spend is sort of irrelevant to that particular issue. So I do like the idea, I guess, of finding the fine line in supplies in order to meet that point, whatever that means. And also, I did want to also talk about, similar to what Dana was saying, that school clubs and PTOs are usually pretty willing to help with that stuff. And I know that the community is usually pretty supportive of that. So it may be that the total supply dollars isn't going to necessarily change that much. It's just how they get it that changes.
Thanks, Lindsay. All right, go ahead, Emily.
Sorry. I just want to go back to what I had said originally, and again, we're a board and we're not talking huge dollars here. We don't micromanage our spending. We put a plan in place, and I recognize that the administration has come back to us with some specific recommendations, but I don't believe we're talking significant enough dollars for us to target one specific area. That I have faith in the administration finding a place to reduce, whether it is in supplies or in some unknown place at this point. So I am not wedded to saying it needs to come out in any one area. I'm just happy to come back with a dollar amount, and I don't know what that dollar amount needs to be to get it down lower. And if the administration really is adamant about us targeting a specific area, but I will just remind us that we can say that, and that's a plan, but they may not follow. They don't have to follow that. They can come back to us and say, look, we decided to not do it there, we should do it in another. And if that is the decision that the administration makes later, I don't feel any need to say specifically it needs to be 20% reduction in supplies or any other specific area. I would be happy with just saying a certain dollar amount and ask the administration to find that reduction wherever it works best for our students first, and then our taxpayers.
Go ahead, Bill.
So hearing all your discussion, if you guys want us to come back with a budget that is 12,040,000, reducing 7,731, I think we can make that happen under the values that the board has espoused and the conversation here tonight, and leaving the administration with the flexibility to make that whole. So if that is a path that the board would like to take, I would suggest 12,040,000 even.
Okay.
I,
Well, I was just going to say we do have a motion on the floor, so we'll have to not.
Yeah,
pass.
I'll modify my motion. I'll modify my motion to say that we accept the superintendent's recommendation that we come back with a budget of 12,040,000.
I'll amend my second.
Okay. Emily?
I was just going to ask, what does that look like for the ballot? What is the per pupil cost for the ballot? Does Lori have that?
I'm getting there.
Thank you, Lori. I know this is a lot we're asking right at the moment, but I just wanted to.
Sure. So the unified tax rate would be basically right around $1.97.8 or so. Dollar, yeah. And then the per pupil that would be on the ballot would be 20,409, which would be a 10.08% increase over last year. You want me to read back what the ballot said this year again? Or did everybody remember that?
Lori?
Yes. Sorry.
Can I make a suggestion to amend my suggestion, my recommendation?
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like it to be 12,038,000. 12,038,000.
Okay.
I will amend my motion.
Well, let's see what.
Wait.
Let me see what it is.
Do you want it under 10% or at 10%?
What does 12,038,000 look like?
10% at 20,394, 10% over the previous year.
12,038,000.
Yeah, hold on. I'll get you under 10.
I think that's what he's driving at.
I know. I'm reading his tea leaves. Okay.
You haven't been thanked in a while. I'm giving you major props. Shout out to Lori. Magic numbers here.
That's why I build these spreadsheets.
And Lori, go ahead when you get the numbers from what was on the ballot too, because I don't remember.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to give you these numbers first. What was on the ballot that was just voted on? 20,466 was the per pupil cost, and it was 10.39% higher than last year. At 12,035,000, it gets you to 20,372, which is 9.88% higher.
Superintendent recommends 12,035,000.
I amend my motion to 12,035,000.
Second.
I amend the second too.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion. I mean, no. Roll call. Joe.
Aye.
Ken.
I move to say aye, Al.
Thank you. Trish.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye. Sorry.
That's all right. Lindsay.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Egan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
I don't think I've left anybody out. All right, motion carries.
Okay, so now we need a motion to warn the vote. My recommendation is June 30th, and I've already spoken with your district clerk. That way, if this budget passes, it would happen before the new fiscal year begins, which would be ideal.
Just a question, Bill. So it's going to pass. I know it's going to pass, but just say it didn't. What happened?
Your chief financial officer has already prepared for a tax anticipation note to carry you through the beginning of your operations. And then we would hold another vote until we either pass a vote or the legislature creates a floor that is higher than the statutory current of borrowing 87%.
Okay, great. I figured that's what the can was for. Okay. All right. So we need a motion on
Warn the budget vote for June 30th.
Okay. Keegan, go ahead. You had your hand up.
No, I would like to warn a budget vote to occur on June 30th, please.
Do we need to state the amount, or is that sufficient, Bill?
It would be very helpful to state the amount of $12,035,000.
In the amount of $12,035,000 on the date of June 30th, please.
Well said, Keegan.
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Leanne got in.
I think Leanne got it. Sorry, Kim, you had your hand up. You were probably going to be that second, right? All right, discussion. I'll go to you, Ken. I'm sorry?
That was a high five.
Ah. All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call. Joe.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Bob Tebow. No, just kidding. Mike.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
My motion carries.
All right, then there's one more. If you could warn June 29th as a budget informational meeting.
Can I do that
7
too?
p.m.
Do I hear that motion?
I would like to make a motion that we host our budget information meeting open to the public on June 29th at 7 p.m.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Emily.
Any discussion?
May I ask a question or offer a suggestion for this during our informational piece?
Certainly.
All right, so the last time we came together, we noticed that we didn't have a massive number of participants on our Zoom piece. And in the days following our last meeting, I did receive a lot of communication around needing to have more communication, either in the form of summaries being posted on in common areas around the town, like in your town halls, like a breakdown of what that process looks like and what the numbers are. So I'm wondering, is it possible to, within our communications with the local newspapers, like this is when the budget is being, like the information is being reviewed, this is what it's for, these are like the areas that we're focusing on as, you know, the values of our community, but then also adding in that extra piece of if you vote yes for one, it makes sense to vote yes for two, and just making it explicitly clear, not just in digital platforms like this, but in print as well. Would that be something we could consider or talk about?
Definitely understood. Just want to clarify that it's only one vote, not two. But yeah, point well taken. Was that what you're going to say, Bill?
That was the point. And then two, we are statutorily required to put it in your paper of record. But I think what you're talking about is back what Joe had talked about before, of maybe having the board chair write a letter to the Commons, the Reformer, take that and post it physically at places around town that all says the same thing about this vote. Is that kind of what you're talking about, Keegan?
Yes, and that's only because some of the folks that I connected with, it would have been great, like with the internet being down or what have you, or some folks not having access to Wi-Fi. But if they could see it in print in the library, in the post office, or in a town, in like a town place where it's clear and like infographic, easy to read, then I think that would be, helpful for some of our voting friends.
So now you're asking for something different. You're asking for a professionally made infographic that you wanted posted in various locations, not a letter from the chair that goes to.
Come on, Keegan.
Amateur status, totally, that'll work. Just a nice informational note tacked to a wall, I guess.
I am happy to make sure that it gets posted, but I do think that the message has to come from the board. I can facilitate the physical posting of it, but I think the message has to come from the elected officials, and I can help with that. But I think that's got to be a commitment that you guys decide somebody is going to be your communicator.
Bill, just a clarifying question on where we can post. Can it be a business, or does it just need to be
post it anywhere you want, man? As long as they,
anywhere.
Yeah, you could put
As long
it
as
in
they
every
agree.
single library. You could put it outside of every single school. You could put it in every town clerk's office. I mean, I don't have a problem doing any of that. I'm just talking about the content.
Yeah, no,
Going to the newspaper and taking whatever goes to the newspaper and spreading it physically around as well as digitally, we can make that happen.
Okay. I mean, Keegan, I think it's a good point. I mean, I'll just give a personal note on that. I was at church for the first time in quite a bit, and there were some folks in there that didn't know there was a vote, and that would have been several votes that we would have had in addition. So, yeah. Anyway, we can get the word out. I think it's a great idea. But I can definitely draft a letter, and I'll work on that right away. Lindsay.
I've got the starter one for you, Al.
Right.
I just would say I would also continue to post it in as many online places as possible, whether it's schools' Facebook pages or Front Porch Forum or, any way that we can reach the widest group of people. I think that there's a lot of people that didn't know it was happening. So any of those informational places would be pretty helpful.
Great, thanks. Anybody? Oh, Mike, sorry. Right in the middle of my picture.
Sure, I would just tack on that, given how we all want this to pass this time around, it might be worth even having the SU or the schools send out their robocalls, telling people to come vote.
That's a great idea.
Full court press.
That is a great idea. All right, anybody else? All right, roll call. Joe.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Rish.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Emily. Oh. I'll come back to Emily in a second. Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
Okay, and we're going to pass over Emily But the motion carries.
Can I get
I
a voice?
hate to do this one more, Al. I need a motion to allow the chair to sign the warning.
I make
Okay.
a motion to allow the chair to sign the warning.
Can I get a second? Who was the second?
Mike.
Mike's the second. Keegan first, Mike's second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. We'll take the vote again. Joe?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Howie?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
And I don't think I missed anybody. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I believe at this point we can move on to the TAN loan. I'm sure Lori has some information for us on the TAN loan.
Yes, it is for, I need two motions, actually. One is to engage with the bank to procure the TAN loan for 1.7 million. It's the tax anticipation note. The interest rate is 1.7%. And then the second motion would be to allow the board chair to sign on behalf of the board members. Typically, all the board members sign the document, but the bank has made an exception because of COVID that the board chair could sign on behalf, but there needs to be a motion to that effect.
All right. And just before we get to that motion, could you just give a brief explanation, Lori, of what the TAN does? I understand, but it's just for everybody's edification.
Sure, yeah, it's in anticipation of the taxes that the towns pay to the school district. We typically don't receive the first tax payment until late September, and we have payroll and accounts payable that need to run in July and August.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll entertain that first motion. Was it for 1.7 million? Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Would anybody like to make that motion? Oh, I see Keegan.
I'll make a motion to allow Lori the opportunity to look into the 1.7 TAN loan. What else do I need to say? Through the school?
Go ahead, Lori. Yeah,
We've already looked into it, and the paperwork is actually drawn up, so it's to accept the tax anticipation note.
Thank you. So I make a motion that we accept the tax anticipation note and that we also allow the board chair to sign on behalf of the entire board.
I think they're two separate. Do they have to be two separate, Lori, or can they be the same?
I think they can be the same.
Okay.
There's
That's
an
all right.
and in there, so.
All right. Do I have a second?
Ken.
Dana seconds it, or Ken.
All right, Dana. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call. Joe.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm widening my screen here. Apologies. Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
And Leanne.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I'll gladly sign that for you, Laura.
I will also need the clerk to sign that as well. So, which is now Mike. So if you can stop by the office tomorrow or sometime this week,
Sure, no problem.
both of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Available now. Got it. All right. That would move us to the year-end financials and the food program losses.
Okay. So all of you should have received, I think Bill sent it out on Saturday or Sunday, the projected year-end financials. I wanted to go over these quickly with you tonight. I'll try to be as brief as possible. So, oh good, somebody's going to share them. That's awesome. If we can go to the summary sheet first, I think this is the backup, and I'd entertain any questions if anybody had a chance to look at the backup. But the story is really told in the summary, which I think may be a separate document.
Is that the summary of projected general fund net position?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. That's it right there. Okay, so all of this is obviously subject to change because we're in a new system and we're working it through, getting through our first year with all the bumps, but we have some pretty good figures here, I think. So first column, you'll see your budget, and then the year-to-date actuals with encumbrances, and then any variances or adjustments that I know about that are coming through. So you can see that the revenues, we had a shortfall in revenues of $253,000, which you can see on the backup what those pertain to. Most of it came from reduction in tuition students. So there were some other state revenues that fell short of the projections, but the main reduction was in the tuition. So that 151,000 there. So moving on to expenses, if you want to flip back. The good news is that the expenses were actually under budget, so that's was able to absorb that revenue loss. There are some projected additional expenses. The AP that you all, I think that Trish and Joe may have signed off on, was not included in these figures here, but most of that was encumbered. So I'm projecting around $60,000 more in expenses. There always are things that come up at the end of the year that, you know, may change this somewhat, but that left the general fund, or leaves the general fund, with a projected $110,000 surplus. The beginning fund balance, again unaudited, as we talked about, Keegan, before, was $354,000. So that will add to that number, and so you're looking at $465,000 surplus, which is good news. However, we'll drop down now to the food program, and again, this year is it's a really hard year to tell as a first year with the Provision 2. You know, obviously, COVID had an effect on the food program. We can all agree on that, right? There's no doubt about that. But as I said before, we really, we know that at the beginning of the year, revenues were falling short because of the lack of applications. Now, if you look at this picture, you see, wow, revenues, actually, there was a little surplus in revenues. But that is actually because of COVID. We were receiving, I think it was close to, over $4 per meal, and for every single meal that was given out. And that came from the federal government. So once things revert, and again, we don't know what the upcoming year will bring with the federal government as far as providing that level of reimbursement going forward. Expenses were over. Again, a lot of that was due to COVID. Some of it was due to the fact that, as I think I told you before, more students were eating than anticipated. So we anticipated an increase in students eating at Leyland and Gray, but not double the number. So additional food costs and supplies and things like that. Again, the COVID is the majority of that, though. So all told, the program lost $76,000, and that has to come from somewhere. So that has to come from the general fund surplus. So I'll make an adjustment to, actually, it'd probably be good to have a motion from the board to move the deficit into the general fund, or have the general fund cover the deficit. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's late.
All right, so Lori, we need a motion to use the surplus of a portion of the surplus of $110,919 to pay for the loss in the food program of $76,403. Is that correct?
Right. That would be good.
Okay, I'll entertain that motion.
Al, it's Keegan. I'll make the motion to use general funds surplus to cover the cost of the food deficit in the amount of $76,403.
I would not use a dollar amount if that's because these are all projected numbers, and we know it'll come out in a deficit, but that the general fund can cover the deficit.
Yes, that sounds great too.
Sorry.
Thanks, Keegan.
I promise.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Mike. Any discussion? All right. Seeing no hands, we'll go right to roll call. Joe.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
And Howie.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you. And then just the final is the capital fund. There is still some money that came in from the different districts in the amount of $76,000. If you just scroll one more page, there we go. So these are the major funds. There's still, there's student activity funds and the special revenue fund, trust fund that I did not report on. In this time frame, there's a lot of activity going on, so it's a little bit harder with those to pinpoint, but they're all in the black, so that's good news. Anybody have any questions for me on this report?
This is great, Lori. Talk about a great way to start. I mean, your ability to offset the decrease in revenue with the decrease in expenses. That's fantastic. Excellent fiscal controls. Really appreciate it.
Well, that's your administrators are really in charge of that, so kudos to them.
All right, thanks. All right, so we move from that to the shed. I can't wait to hear this one.
Yeah, is Marty here? Is he going to talk about the shed, or Joe?
Oh, Marty, I want to go ahead, Marty.
I'm here. So the shed was something that we looked at, I don't know, was it Lori, two falls ago, if I believe, right?
Mhm.
and talked about it, put a proposal in that was just not feasible at the time. But the bottom line is the concession stand down on the athletic fields is not in great shape. And our ability to store outside athletic equipment is nearly impossible with what we have right now. And so we have some really nice, expensive athletic equipment that we are leaving outside throughout after the fall, through the winter, and then into the spring that, just gets worn on over time. So we looked into it 2 falls ago about trying to put a large storage shed / concession stand that would be accommodating to multiple sports outside and also to the Booster Club being able to see both fields, because we have parents who have sons and daughters that play on the lower field and the upper field. And right now, the parents that work in the Booster Club or inside the Snack Shack are only able to see one field, and that's the upper field. So that involves both our middle school teams and our high school teams. So that being said, we asked to take the monies that were not used in the co-curricular contract for what was left of the athletic stipends, because the SU did pay 50%, which was awesome, to the coaches that put in the time and effort before we found out what was going to happen. And also the monies that were left from co-curriculars for travel and official expenses, and was hoping that we could secure those monies to move them to build this much needed facility down on the fields. And that's where we are.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it. Laura, did you have anything else to add?
I would add that, as we were just looking at the general fund net position, that, the expenses being under budget by $424,000, that's a piece of it that Marty's referring to that was not paid out because of COVID to the for the spring coaches and that. There's a little bit of a challenge here because we're near the end of the year and we can't get the shed done before the end of the year and spend it out of fiscal year 20's money, right? So now we're rolling over to a new fiscal year 21. So generally what happens in any budget is that there's not really identified money when it rolls over. It's not saved for, you can just imagine that the money is just one pot that rolls over to the next year if there's a surplus. So that's the challenge, and that's why the board really needs to make a decision on this, whether to obligate the funds for the shed, which will come out of we can charge it back to fiscal year 20 through an accrued process. And that way it's not coming out of fiscal year 21 money. However, it does, that $110,000 that you just voted to, spend 76 of it potentially. And I think the cost of the shed is somewhere around 25 to 27,000. Is that right, Marty?
I think when we put it together, it was 22.5 to 25 is what we guesstimated.
Okay, thanks.
From the original piece that the contractor put in.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd still be a net 10 positive. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, barring any other unforeseen things, but yeah.
Well, selfishly speaking, from somebody who does frequent sporting events quite frequently, quite often, I think it would be an excellent idea, and I'm sure the boosters would appreciate it. It would be a much needed upgrade to our fields and our sporting program. So I'll entertain a motion if anybody would like to make that motion.
I'll do it.
All right, Keegan.
So am I just making like a nice general motion that we're going to use funds from the coming fiscal year?
How would you like that frame, Lord?
How would you like it? I will say what you would like me to say.
Oh, can't hear you, Lord.
That the board would approves obligating funds for fiscal year 20 to be spent on the shed.
We would like, as a board, to approve the use of fiscal year 20 funds to create and build a beautiful.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Discussion. All right, seeing no hands, move right to roll call. Go ahead, Joe.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
Egan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thanks, Lori.
Thank Marty. He's been very
And-
persistent.
Yes, and thank you, Marty. Appreciate it. Can't wait to see it.
And thank you guys for approving it and the support, and it'll be definitely, it's a well-needed piece down on those fields, so you'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. All right. Bill, moving on to new student board member.
I
Or
asked if we
Bob.
could call
Sorry.
on, yes, Principal Tebow.
Sorry, Bob.
Hey guys, so you have two board members right now who are students. One of them is no longer a student as he graduated on Saturday, Trey Krigo. So the way that we set this up, if you remember last year, is that we created 2-year terms, but the first year, the senior only had a 1-year term. So that was Trey. Abby Hazelton will roll into year 2 for her senior year, and so we need to bring in someone who is a rising junior to do a 2-year term. So I put out an inquiry to the student body who are current sophomores, and I had a young lady who expressed some interest who I think would be a fantastic board member. Her name is Ansley Henderson. I believe she's a Newfane resident, and will be a junior and is a member of our student council, and would be very honored if you guys could, I guess, I don't know if you're appointing her or how that exactly works, but I think you have to vote to appoint her as a student rep for the board for a 2-year term.
All right. Do I hear that motion?
So moved, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Do I hear a second?
Second it, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss something?
I don't know if I'm allowed to discuss, but she's just a phenomenal representation of a student athlete at Leland and Gray. That's all I'm going to say. She's phenomenal.
Well, with that plug, thanks, Marty. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Joe.
Is she at the meeting tonight? No?
I don't think so. I did not reach out to her to prep her.
Okay.
For it, so I'd let
No,
her
I
know.
was just going to ask if she was, I was going to ask her to, introduce herself, but I vote aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Thank you guys very much. I will communicate with her and get her contact information to you, Al, so that you can include her in the sending out of materials. I would also like, I know the Zoom thing is tough without having the students sitting right there with you guys, and it's easy to unintentionally overlook them as part of a conversation that you guys are having. I would strongly encourage you, particularly as you go through the whole discussion around the models, and the potential of Leland and Gray being open or not being open, that you would engage the students in that conversation as best you guys can as that comes up in the next meeting.
Thanks, Bob. Great idea. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And all right. So moving on to student reports. Did we have any student reports?
So we don't have any official student reports or principal reports, and the superintendent cabinet report is the end of the year report, which I believe I gave to everybody. And I don't have anything to add to any of those other than the appreciation that I know we all have for the work of our principals and our parents and our students and our teachers and our community members during this unbelievably extraordinary time. You all should be proud of all your neighbors, your colleagues. It has been an enormous challenge, and it has been a beautiful thing to watch everybody step up in a multitude of ways, a real community effort, really everybody. And it's been a pretty amazing thing. It could have been devastating, and instead I think it's really tied us all together. And I think people are unbelievably exhausted, and I'm looking forward to people being able to get a chance to take a step back and get away, and then come back energized for the fall and be there for our students and our community. But I just think you as a board should be very proud of the people you employ, your neighbors, your community members, your students. It's been really cool.
100% agree, Bill. It's been fantastic to see. You know, during the toughest times, you see people pull together, and what you have done as administration, and like you said, community members, administration, unbelievable. And we'll all get through this. We will do it. And yeah, hopefully we can give you that nice break during the summer that you all need. All right, contracts. I believe we have some action on the contracts. I know you sent over the
So I sent the board the list. You guys have already approved when we did letters of intent. These are the ones that are either new hires. We have column changes for individuals. We have, and then all of our administrative contracts. So this is that next bunch. And I've provided all this detail to our minute taker. In the past, you guys have done it in a variety of ways to make sure that this detail gets into the minutes. So you can have somebody read them aloud. You can have the minute taker just put it in there. But at the end of the day, I need you to approve these contracts and approve the chair to sign these contracts, which technically are going to be, some will be contracts, some will be letters of intent, depending on where we are.
Okay. I don't know if it's necessary to read off all the people. I mean, are we legally obligated to do that, or?
No.
No.
I want to assure the board that they've been provided to the minute taker, and they will definitely, that list that you have will be in the minutes, so that'll be captured. It's just different boards at different times like to handle it in different ways. So wanted to keep as many options open for you guys.
No, totally appreciate that. But I just want to make sure that, yes, we're doing the right thing and following the right path. I'll entertain a motion to, would it be to, for me to
approve the contracts and allow the chair to sign.
Emily will make that motion.
I'll second Keegan.
All right, Emily, and then we got Keegan. Any discussion? I see Joe. No? False hand? Okay.
I'm trying to make the motion, but man, Keegan, I can't get in ahead of her.
He is fast.
Yeah.
Very fast. All right. If there's no discussion,
Kidding.
if there's no discussion, I'll go right to the vote. Joe?
Aye.
Oh, did we lose? Oh, thank you. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Trish?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Howie?
Aye.
Keegan?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Motion carries.
Dana.
Oh, I thought I said Dana. I apologize. Dana?
Yes. Aye.
Sorry about that, Dana. Thank
No,
you.
that's all right.
All I see is your phone number. All right, motion carries. Let's the website. Keegan, I believe it was you brought up the website. Bill, did you have something on that?
So based on your conversation, both Keegan and Ken brought it up. I did ask our IT people to review the tailing ends of the one website that was created when you guys formed for that purpose, and where some financial documents were shared. Those links have been eliminated, and if they still exist in cyberspace, they're still only pointing to the WCSU site, of which West River has all the level of detail. In the future, not now, but you do have some really nice websites that were created during COVID for individual school districts. And for the COVID-related reality, we are going to be changing over all the emails in the next year to all Wyndham Central. So we'll be looking at that umbrella of websites for everybody, but in terms of the very specific necessity for West River people to get information, everything points to the WCSU sites and go directly to the West River area right now. But I understand it's a longer term conversation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys giving us the feedback. We are a very lean IT department, unbelievably lean. So we don't have a lot of fluff to do a ton of stuff, but those specific questions to make sure that people are informed and going to the right place, very much appreciated. So Ken and Keegan, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you and our IT team.
Dana, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was wondering, do we have an IT class in Leland and Gray where we got some young individuals who can come up with websites for us? Kind of partner that out like a class project?
That's how we got the original one from 2 years ago from the Leland and Gray co-op program, a work-based study student. So that may be a pathway that we take in the future, but I don't know if Bob wants to add anything, but yeah, they're definitely very aggressive in looking for opportunities for students at Leland and Gray.
Bob, did you have anything to add, or I don't even know if he's still on. Nope, don't see him.
But I got it, Dana.
Thanks, Dana. Any other questions? No. All right, moving on to administration assignments.
So here's what I have so far, that I'm going to encourage the chair, Al, to write a press release of which will be sent to both the Commons and the Reformer, as well as to work with the former chair, Joe Winrick, to follow up on the press release about the process for long-term planning. So it's two separate press releases. One, long-term planning process. Two, the budget vote coming up on June 30th with the informational meeting on the 29th. My responsibility is to make sure that that happens and that it gets disseminated widely through a robocall, through the press release, at all the normal online locations, front porch forum, physically at libraries, clerks, schools, so that people have an opportunity to hear about what is going on, along with the sandwich boards that go out in front of all the town clerks. That's what I've got.
All right, perfect. Committee assignments. I don't believe we have, well, take that back.
The policy committee is working very diligently on getting an updated policy. It'll probably come at your next regular board meeting. I checked in with the administrative liaison, Mr. Tabachnik, and the group is making progress. And it sounds like we should have something ready for the board to consider at the next meeting.
Great. And I'm trying to look it up. Budget committee. The next budget committee meeting would be on June 22nd. If I'm correct on this, we would have the survey to community review, survey to current and former Leland and Gray students, and the climate survey review. Is that correct?
That's what I've got.
Okay. That's on June 22nd. And let's see. Is there anything else, Bill? Did I miss anything?
No, that was really good.
Okay. All right, moving on to minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the May 18th and June 1st minutes? And if so, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
And do I have a second?
Joe,
I'll
you
second.
can do the second. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Mike beat you, Keegan.
Not easy to do.
No, that was good, Mike.
The room to chime in.
Yeah. All right, any discussion? The only discussion point on this, and I'm going to ask Bill, is on the minutes. Is there any legal way that we could put on the recording of the Zoom meeting for that meeting?
When you say the recording, what do you mean?
The Zoom meeting. In other words, could we supplement the actual written minutes with a link to the video of the Zoom meeting?
When we get the BCTV, we place that into where the minutes and agendas and reports are all found.
Oops.
You're back.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Bill, if you respond.
No, I was just letting you know that yes,
I apologize, I didn't catch
BCTV
it.
sends us a link. They tell us that it's uploaded. I send it to our administrative assistant, and then they load it under the WCSU site for West River, so that you can access the Zoom recording just as you would a video recording from BCTV. Joe, Vice Chair, you might have to jump in here, buddy.
We might have lost Al. He still shows us in the meeting, but if he's left, let me reclaim host. Now I'll see him if he dials back in. Okay, so yeah, we do post those minutes. That's all. So then we just need to finish the motion to approve the minutes, right?
Yes.
Ready to vote?
All right, folks.
All right. My screen's
Al's
different
back.
than Al's. Keegan. Al, you're back.
I am. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Were we on the roll call?
Yep.
Aye.
Right. Joe, did you already go?
No. Aye.
All right, Ken,
Aye.
Trish,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Keegan,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Howie,
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
All right, I think that's everybody. Motion carried. All right, I will see pay orders.
I don't believe we had any for you tonight.
Actually, Trish and I have both reviewed and signed off on voucher 61.
Oh, you are right. Sorry about that.
So I would make a motion to approve pay order
Sorry
vouchers
about it. I had a heart attack there.
in the amount of $257,880.14.
Yeah, I don't think we wanted to miss that one, Joe.
There'd be a few unhappy people. I guess there's going to be a second one for the next meeting that they came in late.
It was reviewed by Trish. Oh, sorry.
Oh, the second one was?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm slow.
Okay, so Joe, did you make that motion?
I did make that motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it, Dana.
Thanks, Dana. Any discussion? All right. Joe.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Howie.
Aye.
And Lindsay.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Thanks for remembering that one, Joe. All right. Well, Ken, you're probably going to be in a fight with Keegan on this one. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second.
Second.
All right, Joe.
Aye.
We'll go quick. Ken.
Aye.
Trish.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Keegan.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
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 Sorry, my internet is. Oh, come on.
Aye.
I'll throw in an aye too.
Hey, with Howie, it's unanimous.
All right. Well, I'll take over for
Vice
Al.
Chair.
Again. The meeting's adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.